In 1995, the Minnesota Timberwolves picked Kevin Garnett 5th overall. He was actually a risk coming straight out of high school, but in 2 years, it was clear they got the best player. He was an all-star in 97 and 98. They made the playoffs for the first time in franchise history. So to build a winner around him, they came up with a secret plan to break NBA rules. Eventually, this plan got found out, and the Wolves got the death penalty that ruined KG's prime. Commissioner David Stern said, "This is one of the most far-reaching frauds we have seen. The magnitude of this stuff is shocking, but the way they got caught is even crazier." So what did they do? It started with the guy picked first in KG's draft, Joe Smith. He was the unlucky first player of the new NBA rookie scale contract. That caps how much a rookie can get paid to protect teams from a bust. So the year before, Glenn Robinson got a $69 million contract, but Joe Smith just $8 million. Ooh, that sucks. He was really good as a Warriors rookie, scoring 30 points in a game. Next season, dropped 19 a night, 38 against the Grizzlies. Golden State had a future star, so they offered him an $80 million contract, which he turned down to test free agency. So the Warriors were paranoid about losing him for nothing. They traded him to the Sixers. That summer, he went on the market, but only signed for 1 year, $1 million. Oh my God, talk about fumbling the bag. Offered $80 million, signed for 1.7, got horrible advice from his agent. But this was actually the beginning of a secret, illegal plan. Let me show you what kind of an agent the Wolves were dealing with here. In 2017, Joe Smith's agent, Andy Miller, had his license to represent players revoked after the FBI raided his office and his right-hand man faced up to 200 years in prison. The FBI found out that they recruited players as early as 14 years old. Miller's right-hand man, Christian Dawkins, said, "We identify elite athletes as early as possible, preferably 9th grade. Then you ingratiate yourself with the family, the mom, the handlers, and begin to pay them. Rent here, car payment there, maybe just some walking around money." So by 2017, Dawkins had personally recruited 10 first-round picks for Andy Miller's agency. But one of the investors turned out to be an undercover FBI agent. They busted Dawkins in a Vegas hotel room with full-on machine guns in his face. They found that he had illegally paid tons of college athletes like Dennis Smith Jr., Bam Adebayo, and Kyle Kuzma, hoping that they would become clients for Andy Miller. So this dude was down to do illegal stuff, and back in 2000, Joe Smith signed with the T-Wolves for $1.7 million, shocking everyone. But the next year, signed for $2.1 million. Then a third one-year deal for $2.5. Everyone thought something shady is going on here, but they couldn't prove it until it did. The agent Andy Miller left his old company, but brought two big-name clients with him, Kevin Garnett and Joe Smith. So the old company said, "You can't do that." They sued him, and the evidence came out in court. The Wolves had secretly agreed to reward Smith with a fat $86 million deal if he took 3 small one-year contracts. That way, they saved a ton of money and secured his full bird rights. See, if you have a player for 3 years, you can then go over the salary cap to re-sign him. So the plan almost worked out until at the last minute when it got exposed in court. Joe Smith was so upset about losing that $80 million from the Warriors, he tried an illegal plan that got busted. Now, this dude was out $166 million. But the NBA was pissed. They took away 5 first-round picks from the Wolves as punishment. It destroyed the franchise, who couldn't draft any young, cheap talent around KG or pull off any big trades. Then Joe Smith got kicked off the team. Eventually, they got 2 picks back for good behavior, but this is what they missed out on. Just some guy still on the board was Hall of Fame point guard Tony Parker. Had the Wolves picked him, he doesn't go to the Spurs, who were one of their biggest rivals at the time. Tayshaun Prince, 4-time All-Defense, and Tony Allen, 6-time All-Defense, and should have won Defensive Player of the Year. Instead, Garnett played with mostly below average players. Some people will say, oh, he made the 04 conference finals with Sam Cassell and Latrell Sprewell. That's not the real story. From 95 to 07, the Wolves' leaders in games played were KG at 927, then Sam Mitchell, Wally Zerbiak, and a bunch of random dudes. Garnett never had a legit long-term number 2 after the Wolves got slammed for their illegal deal. But how fair was that punishment? They suspended the owner and the GM Kevin McHale for a year, but McHale said, I haven't read a contract in 4 or 5 years. I mean, there are 8 to 10 teams that do this kind of stuff all the time. They're just good at it and we're bad. And that is true. Just last year, James Harden agreed to sign for less money so the Sixers could add PJ Tucker and DeAnthony Melton. They got fined 2 second-round picks. The NBA proved they had a secret backroom deal. Then Gilbert Arenas exposed everything on the Draymond Green podcast. He said in 2003 he wanted to stay with the Warriors, but they couldn't offer him the max. So a secret deal was on the table.
What we were trying to do is we were trying to sign a under-the-table deal. You know, 1 year, 4.9, and then have the contract already signed, 7 years,
Yes.
79 million.
Okay.
So that was the deal that I was gonna sign now, and then we was both gonna hold it in the vote.
Arenas ended up turning that down, but I love how Draymond isn't even shocked when Arenas brings it up. He's like, oh yeah, secret deal. The difference is Minnesota got caught. It was a fluke thing that the agents sued each other and it all came out in court. But the Wolves were dumb enough to put it in writing. But that is nothing compared to what happened next. Garnett stayed loyal to the Wolves despite wasting his prime. He was basically the original Damian Lillard. Finally, at 31 years old, they chose to trade him. The Lakers actually tried for a year to pair KG with Kobe, but that fell apart. Eventually, they settled on the Celtics. The Wolves got back Al Jefferson, Gerald Green, Theo Ratliff, a team-friendly contract, Sebastian Telfair, Ryan Gomes, and 2 future firsts. While KG won a chip in Boston, Al Jefferson blew out his ACL. Green and Telfair ended up being subpar role players, and the picks became Johnny Flynn over Steph Curry and Wayne Ellington. The Wolves traded the best player in franchise history for nothing and ended up in a 13-year playoff drought. Maybe the worst franchise in league history, but one of the biggest what ifs is how good is that team if they don't gamble everything on below average Joe Smith? I mean, do they build a roster around MVP Kevin Garnett and win a chip? Or were they destined to be a trash team anyway with such horrible decision making, like a secret plan that got exposed? But right now, I guarantee a team is breaking NBA rules again. The new rules just came out and I break down everything you need to know. It could destroy NBA super teams, but someone could be making a secret deal. Check it out.